can we give a very jazzy hand welcome to Rupert Reed.
So, let me start out by reminding you just very, very briefly why we're here. And we're here because the situation is truly desperate. I don't know how many of you saw the latest thing in Nature, the world's most prominent scientific journal, by basically the world's most prominent climate scientists this week, a commentary suggesting that there is evidence that that elements of irreversible anthropogenic climate change may have begun. There is evidence that the ice sheet melt in the Antarctic and Greenland is irreversible, and that these tipping points have now been triggered, and that the only question is how quickly or slowly they will progress. So it's because of things like that, right, that we're here. That the situation is desperate. As I often say, if you're not terrified, you're not paying attention. And that the situation is full of sadness and full of grief, and often we're full of rage. All of this, of course, comes really from love. We're here because we love each other, and we love our children, and we love this beautiful world. And we're absolutely determined to do what is necessary to take care of it, even though the situation is, as I say, potentially now one where there are limits as to what we can actually do. We are committed to various kinds of terrible damage to the world and to our future. We are committed to that as a species by what we've already done, which just underscores the extent to which we have to be committed to doing everything. We have to be committed to doing everything we can to arrest that, or at least slow it down. So it's in that context of awful truth-telling which liberates us, yeah? Because once you realize that our governments have put us on a track to this kind of catastrophic future, then, as we say in the Declaration of Rebellion, well, how can their laws mean anything much to us anymore? So we're freed now to do what we need to do in response to that. It's in that context, what I would love us to do is to think about doing super intelligent actions that make that vividly present to ordinary people in this country. Because that's the way I think we make this more immediate, and that's the way I think that we win. And again, it's got nothing to do with ideology. Right? You just do things like you say, we're dependent upon this just-in-time system of supermarket delivery and world delivery of food and so on and so forth. This system is super vulnerable. This really doesn't make sense in the era that we are living in. We need to tackle the causes of dangerous climate change, and we need to adapt to the situation that we're in by relocalizing our food supply, drastically reducing food waste, living lower on the food chain, etc. So what kind of actions could you take to draw attention to this? So you could do hardcore actions or fluffy actions, spiky actions or fluffy actions at supermarket distribution centers, for example, right? Imagine blocking a supermarket distribution center, and suddenly, within a day or two, shelves in Tesco are clearing out. Because this whole thing is this absolutely fragile, vulnerable, just-in-time system which makes us vulnerable, right? And that's targeting a large corporation in a way that draws attention to the way that we, as a population, are being made super vulnerable by avoidable actions from the powers that be, from the power behind power, and bringing that home to people in a way that could make sense to people. So that's one example of the kind of thing I think we could do that would be, A, in a non-ideological way targeted against the right target, and B, done so in a way that feeds into a narrative that XR is going to be pushing more and more over the coming year of our vulnerability and our, to some extent, unnecessary vulnerability, to some extent avoidable vulnerability, a sense in which we're all in this together, a sense in which this is an immediate problem, not a problem about the distant future. And something that if we were to apply pressure to show what would happen, right? If there was some real food crisis, which may be coming in this country, to kind of model that briefly, yeah? We could do that. We could do something in a way there that would make immense sense to people and would be like a sort of early warning system yeah, which maybe could make the difference in waking people up in time. So I hope those thoughts are conducive or at least interesting. Let's have a discussion about them. Thank you once again so much for being here for this.
Let's head over to the continent, and well, the Dutch farmers are protesting. Let's have a look at what's going on the A1 between Berlin and Amsterdam. Huge numbers of farmers heading into various places, and now they were told yesterday by a judge in Lelystad, that they were allowed to continue their protests today, but that they were not allowed to blockade supermarket distribution centres. So the Farmers Defence Force Action Group had initially said that they were going to suspend those protests today, but clearly they haven't done that. They're saying that, or at least the courts were saying that if they do block the distribution of supermarket distribution, that each area where they block that would be potentially, they would end up receiving a €100,000 fine. So that's going on.
There's some passion there.
There absolutely
at the end
is,
of the day.
and we're starting to see pushback on this whole policy from a number of different industry sectors, but the farmers in Holland particularly keen to make their point.
Yeah, everywhere we go at the moment, we're seeing sort of breakdown and fractiousness amongst people. Well, we want to continue with our expose on Extinction Rebellion, and for several months, UK Column has been trying to get the Department of Education to react to evidence that we've put forward showing that Extinction Rebellion is a self-declared criminal organisation. It's involved in extremism. It's involving young children of school age in that process. It's using school facilities to run its training exercises. But let's just have a recap on what we've shown. This is where you would go. Educate Against Hate is the website, and on it you can find very clearly Department for Education's Counter-Extremism Helpline, which of course we called. And what that led to is clearly they did not want to see the evidence. They did take it in the end, they were forced to, but they have ignored what has been given to them, team. And despite providing documentary evidence of Extinction Rebellion's self-declared criminal activity, documentary evidence of them using school facilities, the excellent SO15 report, BBC evidence of them involving young people in criminal activity. This is the email exchange, and the ultimate result is they don't want to know.